once you make a commitment to it, it's not about keeping that stuff in your brain. It's there. You know what I mean? Like you have a general idea. Like I know about Bogdanovic and I know about the Hawks and I know about how excited they are and the fact that they have Rondo there now to protect him. Like there's just stuff that like you hear it and you go, okay, it's the Hawks. And so you just keep it moving.
Yeah, and you brought it up. So let's go ahead and get right into it, Adam. Atlanta
Is the city going nuts right now? Is Atlanta just like
we're going crazy? A lot of debates going on too. So I want to get your take on this for sure. We pretty much we kept Woj pretty busy over free agency time. I feel like we were at least a third of his Woj bombs. So where do you feel like after the Hawks made all these additions, obviously, you know, you went through it, Bogdanovic, Rondo, Kris Dunn, traded for Tony Snell. Still haven't seen Clint Capella yet.
I was going to say the Clint Capella roster will be interesting. Gallinari, like proven vet scorer.
Exactly. So with all these additions, where do you think we find ourselves in the East? I think we're at least a playoff team. I think our ceiling, like this is perfect now. Hear me out. I think we can.
It's such a fun roster.
It's a fun roster, and I think if the fun proves to be, you know, as fun as it can be, I think we can make it at highest a 5th seed, but at lowest, I think we're an 8th seed. Where do you stand on it?
Okay, so when I look at your roster, the first thing I go is Bogdanovic, assassin, scorer. He's the kind of guy that you need. Rondo immediately makes all of the shooters better because of how good of a passer he is. Clint Capella and John Collins is a heck of an athletic 4 or 5 that stretches everybody. And then I look at, like, I mean, Trae is Trae, but like I forgot that you guys got Onyeka, and I'm like, everyone talked about him being like the potential guy, and but the big growth spurts usually happen for guys in years 2 and 3, and so what kind of growth do we see from Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, and a guy that I want to talk about, Kevin Huerter?
There it is, Red Velvet. Yes, sir.
And so I had the chance last year to do a few episodes of NBA on TNT Tuesdays with Vince Carter, who was on that roster. And one of the days I just sat down with him and I literally just brought up everybody's name.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, there's so much potential in this team. And for so many of the guys like a Huerter and a Hunter, it's just getting the confidence to be the guy. I wish the Hawks could have been in the bubble to have had that growing up moment. It's why I love when young teams get the 8 seed. You're not going to win, but you need to see how different playoff basketball is. And you need to experience how much more intense an away crowd is and what it's like to travel during the playoffs, like all of that stuff. The Hawks are in that dangerous spot, though, of being the it team. It is the Suns in the West. It is the Hawks in the East. And in almost all sports, the it team disappoints. So if Dylan – look, Simone knows what happened when the Eagles got Nnamdi Asomugha and we were called the Dream Team. It didn't pan out. The Heat didn't win the championship the first year. The Browns sucked last year. The Buccaneers are not doing what everyone – like it always happens. So if you say they could be the 5th seed, I think the best thing for them is – there's now the play-in tournament. So if they get between 7 and 10, which they definitely should, they'll get that experience. I think that the reason I would be excited if I was a Hawks fan is not only do they have a super exciting young core and an absolute superstar from the fans' perspective in Trae. You have a head coach in Lloyd Pierce that is so well respected, not just as a coach, but as a man. And the fact that the Hawks – who, from what I gathered being in Atlanta from doing the show, the Falcons had their run to a Super Bowl and all that, but the Hawks, it's like, it's been a long time. Even the good teams were the flameouts in the playoffs where it was actually kind of embarrassing. This is a team that opened up the arena, did all that voting legislature, is truly a team that's bringing the city together, and they have a young core, and you have a coach, and you have an owner that it was his idea to do all that stuff. So for me, it's exciting because I have always thought that the Atlanta Hawks could be a destination for people. And I have spoken to so many athletes, namely NFL, that have homes in Atlanta. They play in a different city, but they have a home in Atlanta. And I think about Dominique Wilkins. I think about Pistol Pete Maravich. I think about that kind of history. And I would love to see that franchise get better. Is it going to happen right away? I don't think so. Right. But are we going to see sparks for the next 2 or 3 years? That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited about too. It seems like, when we made the playoffs back in 2008 for the first time in a while, Mike Bibby, Joe Johnson, Josh Smith, all those guys, it was exciting and it was cool. And we almost shocked the world beating the Celtics and taking the Celtics to 7 games. But you always felt like there was a cap on that team. You always felt like that team never really could get over. You
knew Josh Smith was great. But you knew that even though he was getting 20 and 10, it wasn't a 20 and 10 that was going to get you to the finals.
Exactly. And then when he fell in love with the 3-ball, it was all downhill from there. Like, he was so dominant going to the basket, but I don't want to go too far into that. And then too, when we had
incredible shot blocker.
Oh yeah, I mean he was. So I watched his highlights the other day. I mean, the man was raw. He was crazy, really before his time, but just fell in love with 3 too much for me. But then we had the 60-win team too. That was LeBron when he came back to the Cavaliers. Yeah. You knew in your gut of guts and your heart of hearts that team wasn't getting past them. And it showed once they met up with them in the Eastern Conference Finals. But this team, it's different. It feels different to me. It feels like this team can get over the hump.
That's about the Falcons.
What you say?
That's what you said about the Falcons.
About the Falcons before the season.
We're not talking about the Falcons right now. We're talking about the Hawks.
Well, I'll say this. To that point, nobody was getting that excited about Paul Millsap and Kyle Korver. They just weren't. But Trae Young and all of the guys that we talked about before, I think the move that I'm very excited for, there were a few teams in the NBA that got a tough-nosed vet to kind of protect their young star. Yeah. Rondo with Trae Young. The Dallas Mavericks got James Jones, famously known as like one of the toughest guys in the NBA. James Johnson, I think it is. James.
It was James Johnson.
James Johnson. Thank you. Yeah. The Pelicans got Steven Adams, so that Zion has like someone that's actually bigger than him on the team. Right. And I think it's good because like we saw a lot of stuff from Trae. Like Trae can embarrass people, and guys are going to come after him. But they're not going to come after him if they know Rondo's coming in next, Yeah. So there is a swag to this Atlanta Hawks team that is representative of the city. I never thought that 60-win Hawks team felt like an Atlanta team. It just didn't. It was a Milwaukee team. It was a Budenholzer Milwaukee team.
It was that's exactly what it was. Like you said, and you made the great point. Like those teams back then, they didn't feel like they were an Atlanta culture type team. This city,
they were teams that happen to play in Atlanta.
Yeah. This team here, this team currently constructed, feels like it's like for the culture. This team feels like it's for the culture. Like, and everybody who says too, like we should have drafted Luka and like Trae, like I'm like, no, we drafted Trae because Trae is part of the culture. Like he fits in.
And also no, like I have heard rumors, and I don't know if this has been reported, but I had heard that Luka said he didn't want to play in Atlanta.
Oh yeah, I didn't know about that either, but I can see that.
He definitely didn't want to play in Sacramento. So it's tough. I think that the way that I really look at it is if we're going to equate it to a draft. So like Texans, they're like, oh, we got Deshaun Watson, could have had Mahomes, but it's really the Bears that everyone's like, man, you guys kind of blew. You took Trubisky. The way that I look about it in that draft is like no one's going to fault the Suns for taking DeAndre Ayton, but I feel like Trae could be the Deshaun Watson to Luka's Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. And Trubisky, unfortunately, and I like the kid, but it's probably Marvin Bagley. Like, of all the picks, like, you can get a lot more upset about Marvin Bagley than you can about Trae Young.